Welcome back students, this is Dr. P. Srinivasrao, Assistant Professor in Physics, Department of Science and Humanities, Vijnan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research. So in this module we are going to discuss about the interatomic forces and classification of the materials based on the arrangement of the atoms into crystalline and non-crystalline materials. Next we will discuss about the Bravais lattice or the space lattice. Next we will discuss about the unit cell. So in this unit cell there are three types of crystal structures. First one is the simple cubic structure, body centered cubic structure and the face centered cubic structure. So we will calculate different parameters for these different types of crystal structures. Today we are going to discuss about the interatomic forces. Okay, so this is one atom. This is one atom. So we have in an atom we have positive charge in nucleus and the electrons are revolving around the nucleus. So this nucleus is positive charge and the electron is having the negative charge. So according to Coulomb's law, the opposite charges are attract each other. So the opposite charges attract each other. So here we have positive charge and the electron is having the negative charge. So there will be attractive force between the electron and the nucleus. So but when we bring the two atoms, close together, since this nucleus is containing the positive charge, it not only attracts the electron of the first atom, it also attracts the electron of the second atom, because this is also having the negative charge. Okay, because the opposite charges are always attractive in nature. So in this way, so here we have this positive charge not only attracts this first atom electron, so it also attracts the negative charge of the second atom. So due to this atom tries to bring the next atom close together. So when we bring the two atoms close together, so the attractive force starts to increase. Okay, so in this way, when they are come very close together, because the overlapping of this atomic orbitals will start. Okay, because this electron is also having the negative charge and this atom is also having the negative charge. So due to this negative charge and this negative charge both starts to repel. So due to this there will be some repulsive forces. And also here also we have positive charge and here also we have the positive charge. Similar charges always repel. And opposite charges always attract. So due to this there will be attractive forces as well as the repulsive forces. So here we have repulsive force between the nucleus and nucleus. So this is the repulsive force because they are having the similar charges, and here we have the nucleus electron. This is the plus charge nucleus and this is the electron having the negative charge. So due to this there will be some attractive force and electron both are having the negative charge. There will be some repulsive force. So this will be repulsive force. So between the two atoms, that means the interatomic forces means that the force between the two atoms. Okay, so what kind of forces we have? We have the repulsive forces as well as the attractive forces. So the repulsive forces are between the similar charges and the attractive forces are between the opposite charges. So here you can say we have both attractive forces as well as the repulsive forces. So this positive charge and this positive charge both will repel, and this negative charge and this negative charge both will repel, and this positive charge nucleus and this negative charge electron both will attract, and this positive charge of the first atom and the negative charge of the second atom, they will also attract you. Okay, so we have attractive forces as well as the repulsive forces. So these attractive forces tries to bring the two atoms close together, and at the same time these repulsive forces try to move the atoms apart. Okay, to prevent the atoms from merging. Okay, so these repulsive forces tries to keep the atoms away from each other, and these attractive forces tries to bring the atoms close together. So if there are no attractive forces, the atoms never come close together. If there are no repulsive forces, the two atoms will merge together and it will become a single atom. So the atom will get collapsed. Okay, so we need the attractive forces and as well as the repulsive forces. So here you can see the graph. So this is the force versus distance diagram. So here we have the two atoms are far apart. So here the two atoms are far apart. So due to the attractive force between the positive charge nucleus and the electron, so they come close together. Okay, so when the atoms are far apart, the attractive force is less. When they are come closing together, the attractive forces starts to increase. Okay, so here you can see the attractive force is always negative, and when the atoms are come come close together, so the attractive forces starts to increase. So when the two atoms come close together, since this is the negative electron cloud and this is also negative electron cloud, since the similar charges repel, so the repulsive forces starts to increase. Here you can see the repulsive forces still here it is minimal. So when they come close together, there will be rapid increase in the repulsive forces, because this positive charge and this positive charge they repel, and this negative charge electron and this negative charge electron both will repel. So due to this, the repulsive forces increases and the attractive forces also increases. Okay, at some point, the repulsive forces and the attractive forces both will balance with each other, because so here you can see, so the repulsive forces between the 2 point charges, repulsive forces between, according to Coulomb's law, the repulsive forces between the 2 point charges equal to, depending upon the charge and the distance between the two charges. Okay, so according to Coulomb's law, if there are 2 point charges Q1 and Q2 separated by some distance r, okay, so this will be the, so the repulsive forces is always positive, because if we have the 2 positive charges or 2 negative charges, so the repulsive forces is always positive, and the attractive forces, if there are 2 charges Q1 comma minus Q2, so the attractive force is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 minus Q2 divided by r square. Okay, since we have a negative sign, the attractive force is always negative. Okay, so at some point, so the total force acting on the between the two atoms is equal to attractive force plus repulsive forces. So these attractive forces tries to bring the two atoms close together, and these repulsive forces tries to prevent the atoms from the merging. That means they try to move away the two atoms apart. It does not allow, the repulsive forces does not allow the two atoms to merge together. This is called as the equilibrium distance. So at some point, so the net force acting on the electrons will be equal to 0. That means the net force acting between the two atoms is equal to 0. So this distance is called as the equilibrium distance, or we can say this is as the bond length. This is called as the bond length. Okay, so that means if we have one atom here, the separation between the two positive charges is called as the bond length. This is called as the bond length, or you can say this is the interatomic distance. That means the separation between the two atoms. The separation between the two atoms is equal to interatomic distance. That means the separation between the two atoms, it is called as the equilibrium distance or interatomic distance, or we can say this is the. So how do we classify these solids into different types of materials? So due to the attractive forces and repulsive forces, there will be arrangement of the. Okay, so these are based on arrangement of the atoms. These are classified into the crystalline materials and the non-crystalline materials. These non-crystalline materials are also called as the amorphous materials. And these crystalline materials, they are classified into the single crystalline or polycrystalline. So single crystalline means there is only one crystal. Single means only one. So in case of polycrystalline materials, poly means many. Okay, so these materials based on atomic arrangement, they will classify into two types. First one is the crystalline materials and the second one is the non-crystalline materials. So these crystalline materials are further categorized into single crystals and the polycrystalline materials. So these single crystal means only one crystal, and examples for these are rock salt or calcite crystal or quartz crystal. Okay, so these are belongs to the single crystal. Single crystal in the sense, so here you can see, so there will be regular and periodic arrangement of atoms. Okay, so the regular means the same atom is repeating again and again, recurrence. So the same atom is repeating again and again. So this type of materials are called as the crystalline materials, and they are regular and periodic. So that means the separation between the first atom and second atom is the same as the second atom and third atom. Separation between the, so this is called as the lattice constant. The separation between the first two atoms is the same as the separation between the second and third atom. That means they are periodic. That means the separation between the first two atoms is the same as the separation between the next two atoms. So they are regular and periodic. So there will be no missing atom. The same atom is repeating again and again. So this is regular and as well as periodic in nature. So this is about the crystalline materials. So in case of polycrystalline materials, so this is also regular and periodic arrangement. But here you have so many grains. Poly means many crystals. So there are many crystals. So they are oriented in a different directions. So they are also separated by the well-defined boundaries. So within these grains, they are in a particular order. So here you can see, suppose this is the polycrystalline material. So these materials are separated by the well-defined grain boundaries. Okay, within this material, within this grain, they are regular and periodic arrangement. Okay, within this material also they are regular and periodic manner. But in different grains, they are oriented in a different direction. So in this grain, you can see they are oriented in this direction, and in this grain, they are oriented in a different direction. So in this grain, they may be oriented in another direction. Okay, there is no particular relation. So this is also crystalline, because within this grain, the atoms are arranged in a regular and periodic manner. And within this grain also there is the regular and periodic arrangement of the atoms, but they are not connected with each other. They are separated by some grain boundaries. Okay, within this grain they are regular and periodic, but they orient in the different directions. So that means this is one crystal, this is another crystal, this is another crystal. So there are poly means many, so polycrystalline means many crystallites, but they are not connected with each other. But in case of crystalline materials, throughout the material, all the atoms are arranged in a regular and periodic manner. But in case of polycrystalline materials, within the grain, they are arranged in a regular and periodic manner, but they are separated by the well-defined grain boundaries, and they are oriented in the different directions. So that is the difference between the single crystal and the polycrystalline material. So in case of single crystal, all atoms are arranged in a regular and periodic manner throughout the crystal. But in case of polycrystalline materials, there will be grains, and these grains are not connected. Within the grain, all atoms are arranged in a regular and periodic, and they are oriented in the different directions. So examples for this are sand, metals, and salts. So amorphous, coming to the amorphous materials or non-crystalline materials, so there will be no regular arrangement of the atoms throughout the crystal. Okay, here you can see, so in case of amorphous materials, there will be no regular arrangement. Okay, there will be no arrangement between, that means there will be no regularity and there will be no periodicity. That means the separation between the two atoms is not the same. If you take these atoms, the separation between these two atoms is different, and between these two atoms is different. So these are called as the amorphous materials or non-crystalline materials. Okay, so coming to the differences, so these crystalline materials will have the regular and periodic arrangement, and these amorphous solids will have the non-regular and a non-periodic arrangement. So these are anisotropic in nature. So what is meant by anisotropic? So that means the physical properties are different in different directions. So here you can see, so this is the crystalline materials. Here you can see the separation between the atoms, suppose this is A. Okay, and separation between these two atoms, let us say this is A. But here you can see, if you take this one, this is like a right angle triangle. So if you take this one, this will be like square root of 2a. That means the separation between these two atoms is different. Okay, so the properties in this direction is different, and the properties in this direction is different. And if you take this one, so these two atoms are, so in this direction also the properties are different. So this property is called isotropic. Means all the physical properties are same in all directions. But anisotropic means the physical properties are different in different directions. If you change the direction, because the separation between the two atoms is different in different directions, so this property is called as the anisotropic. Okay, so next one is the in case coming to the amorphous solids. So on an average, the separation between the two atoms is the same, because there will be irregular arrangement of the atoms. So all the properties in all the directions is on an average is the same, because there will be no regular and periodic arrangement. So this is in case of amorphous solids, the physical properties are same in all directions. So this property is called as the isotropic in nature. So these have the definite melting and boiling points, and these amorphous solids, they don't have the sharp melting and boiling points. So here you can see, so if you take this atom, if you take these two atoms, so what is meant by melting means, so let us say in case of solids, the atoms are very close together. Okay, so the melting temperature is defined as the temperature at which the solid becomes liquid. Okay, so in case of solid, the atoms are very close together. In case of liquid, the atoms are slightly apart. That means the attractive force is very less. So in case of solids, the attractive force is very strong. So melting temperature in the sense at which the solid becomes liquid. That means to move the atoms far apart, we need to give some energy. That means the temperature at which the solid becomes liquid. That means we have to give some thermal energy. Okay, so that means if you look at this one, if you look at these two atoms. So in order to separate these two atoms, so since the separation between the two atoms in the crystalline material is the same, okay, so in this case all the pair of atoms require the same amount of thermal energy to break them. Okay, that means to move apart, we need the same amount of, that means we need the same thermal energy. That means we need the same temperature. We need the same temperature. Okay, to separate these two atoms, we need the same amount of thermal energy. That means the melting point is same for all the pair of atoms. Okay, that means it has a sharp melting point. Okay, so at a particular temperature, all bonds will be broken because the separation between these two atoms is the same for all pair of atoms. But in case of amorphous solids, if you look at this one, so these two atoms are close together because here the amorphous solids will have the regular and periodic arrangement. So here the separation between these two atoms may be different and the separation between these two atoms may be different. So here if the two atoms are far apart, it is easy to break them. That means to move them separate, to make the solid into liquid. But if the atoms are close apart, we need more of energy because if they are close together, it is difficult. We need more energy to separate them. If they are far apart, we need very less amount of energy to move them. That means to make the solid into liquid. Okay, so the melting point is different for the different pair of atoms. Okay, so these two pair of atoms will melt at a low temperature, and these two atoms will get separated. That means it is melted. It is melted at a higher temperature because they are close together. So the melting point is white. Here it is the sharp in case of crystalline materials because all the pair of atoms require the same amount of thermal energy to break them. But in case of amorphous solids, some of the pair of atoms they melt at a lower temperature and some of the pair of atoms they melt at a higher temperature. So they don't have a sharp melting point. So the melting point is located within a range of temperature because some of the pair of atoms they melt at a lower temperature and some of the pair of atoms they melt at a higher temperature. So the melting point is not sharp here. So they will melt at a different temperatures. So that is the difference between the crystalline solids and the amorphous solids. In the same way, boiling point is the temperature at which the liquid becomes gas. Okay, in case of liquids and solids, so the atoms are very far apart. So in the same boiling point is the temperature at which the liquid becomes gas. So in the same way, so all atoms are having here the same separation in case of crystalline materials. So all the pair of atoms requires the same amount of thermal energy. But here, because of the irregular nature, so this requires the range of temperatures to boil them. So they have a long range of atoms. In case of crystalline materials, all the atoms are in a regular and periodic manner, but here they have very short range. That means only few atomic orders. They are in a order position, and they don't have a long range order. That means only few atomic distances they are in a order. Remaining things they are not in a order. So they have unit cell. We will discuss about the unit cell. So examples of these crystalline materials are the rock salt and calcite and the quartz. And the examples for these amorphous materials are the rubber, plastic and glass. So next, coming to the concept of Bravais lattice, here you can say this crystal in the sense regular and periodic arrangement of atoms. So let us consider this is one crystal. Okay, here we have the regular and periodic arrangement of atoms. Here the concept of Bravais lattice, assume that, so this is the one lattice point that represents this atom. So where the actual atom is located, here this is the imaginary one. This Bravais concept of lattice is the imaginary concept. He assumed that this point represents this atom, and in similar way this point represents this atom. So these are he called it as the lattice points. So this lattice points is the imaginary concept. So this lattice point represents where the actual atom is located. That means this lattice point represents the this atom. So if you take this one dimensional of atoms, this is one dimensional, so all the atoms are arranged in a regular and periodic manner. That means the same atom is repeating again and again, and the separation between the two atoms is the same for throughout the crystal. So this is called as the crystalline materials. So this lattice, all these lattice points represents the where the atoms are actually located. So the same atom is repeating again and again. So these are the lattice. Lattice means infinite array of points arranged in the space. So these are the lattice points. If you attach any atom, so this is the basis. So this basis, that means which atom is going to constitute this lattice. Okay, this is the basis. It can be a molecule or atom. Okay, that is associated with each lattice point. So this atom is associated with each lattice point. Okay, so if you replace this lattice point with this atom, you are going to get the crystal structure. Actually, this is the crystal structure. So where the atoms are located, we represent it with a lattice point. So if you arrange these lattice points, you can get the lattice. This is the one-dimensional lattice. So this is the basis for all this lattice. Okay, so that means, so this basis, it can be a molecule or it can be an atom that is associated with each lattice point. So here if you put this atom at each lattice point, you are going to get the crystal structure. Okay, that means lattice plus basis equal to crystal structure. In the same, this is for the one dimensional. Okay, here you can say if you want to produce the lattice, one dimensional lattice, so here you have to take the lattice vector, or it is called as the unit vector or translation vector. This is the unit translation vector. So here you can say if you want to get this lattice, so this is the lattice, and the separation between this lattice points is the same. Let us say A. So first I am going to take only one unit. I am going to repeat this one again. Okay, so then if you repeat this one, this is the unit translation, because you are translating the same thing again. When you translate this one, you can get the next lattice point. If you translate this again, you can get the next lattice point. If you translate it again, you get the whole one-dimensional lattice. So this is the basic, this is the unit translation vector. When you are repeated in the one-dimensional, you can get the lattice. This is the one-dimensional lattice. So this is the called as the unit vector. So in case of the unit vector for the one-dimensional lattice is the line. Okay, this is the one line is the, this is the unit this will become the unit vector which repeats along one direction. If you repeat this thing again and again, you can get the one-dimensional lattice. Okay, for the one-dimensional lattice, and the second one is the, so this is the two-dimensional lattice. This is the two-dimensional crystal. This two-dimensional crystal, that means along the x direction and y direction. So each atom is represented with a lattice point. It represents this atom. So if you attach to this lattice, if you attach some atoms to this lattice, so this is lattice. When you attach each atom to the lattice, you will get the crystal structure. That means the two-dimensional lattice plus basis equal to. Basis means which atom is going to repeat again and again. That is associated with each lattice point. So if you repeat all these lattice points with the atoms, then it will get the crystal structure. That means the plus basis equal to crystal structure. This is the Bravais. So this is the lattice. This concept is the imaginary one. So if you see, so if you want to measure the unit vector for this two-dimensional lattice, so here is that. So the Bravais lattice for this. So this Bravais lattice for the two-dimensional crystal is. So this is the square. It will become square. But in case of one dimension, we take the only one line. This is one line. This is for the unit vector for the one-dimensional lattice, and for the two dimensions, it will become a square. So if you repeat this one along the x direction and y direction, so if you repeat this square along the x direction, you can get the r, and you repeat the same thing along the y direction, you can get some more lattice points, so that you can get the two-dimensional crystal structure. So this is the way how to get the crystal structure. So the smallest unit cell, this is the unit cell for the two-dimensional lattice is the square. In case of one dimension, it will be the line. So in case of three dimension, you can say this is the cube. So this is the cube for the cube will become the unit cell for the three-dimensional lattice. So if you repeat this along the x direction, you can generate the lattice points. If you repeat this along both y directions and as well as the z direction. So in case of one dimension, in one direction. In case of two dimensional, you will repeat both x and y direction. But in case of three dimensions, you will repeat the along the x direction, y direction, and as well as the z direction. Here you can say it is in the both x, y, and z directions. You can get the three-dimensional crystal lattice. Concept of Bravais lattices. So the imaginary points where they actually atoms are located. So these points are called as the lattice points. Okay. So in case of three dimensions, we can define it as the infinite array of points arranged in the space such that the environment about each lattice point is the same. So this is about the space lattice. So the basis means any assembly of atoms or molecules associated with a lattice points. So this is called as the basis. By using this basis, we can, if we attach these basis atoms to the lattice, you can get the crystal structure. So lattice plus base is equal to crystal structure. This is the concept of Bravais lattice. So he is the person who invented this concept. So this is the Bravais. Okay. So this basis, it need not contain only one atom. It can be a molecule. It can contain two atoms also. But the orientation should be the same because all the atoms should be oriented in the same direction. So these are the lattice points. You can attach to the basis can be two atoms or three atoms. It can be ion. It can be molecule, or it can be atom also. So all atoms are oriented in the same direction. So next one is the small unit cell. So this unit cell for the three dimension is the cube. Okay, this is the cube. So here if you repeat this one again and again along the x direction, y direction, and z direction, you can get the space lattice. So this unit cell contains the three edges. Okay. So here we have along the x direction A, and along the y direction it can be B, and along the z direction it can be C also. So this may or may not be this equal. Okay, this A may be equal or may not be equal. So this A, B, C are the edges of this cube, and these are the angles between the B and C. This is the alpha, and the angle between the A and B edges are the gamma, and this A and C are the beta. So these are the between these edges. So these angles may or may not be equal to 90. Sometimes it cannot be equal to 90. It can be, sometimes it can be equal to 90. In case of cube, all sides are equal. But in case of other crystal systems, it may be different. So the edges may be also different. So there are three types of unit cells. First one is the simple cubic unit cell. Also we call it as the simple cubic structure. And second one is the body-centered cubic structure, and third one is the face-centered cubic structure. Here we have three types of unit cell. So first one is the simple cubic structure. So in the simple cubic structure, we have atoms at the we have the lattice points at the only at the corners. So this is the cube. That means all sides are equal. So this unit cell contains the all sides are equal. That means A equal to B equal to C, and the atoms are located only at the corners. And the atoms are located only at the corners. That means there are 8 corners. So it contains the 8 atoms at the corners. And in case of body-centered cube, so this is the center of this body. Okay, that means the center for this cube. Okay, so here we have 8 atoms at the corners, and also so 1 atom at the body-centered. So this is called, that's why this is called as the body-centered. And in case of face-centered cubic, so we have 8 atoms at the corners, and each face contains 1 atom. So there are totally on 4 sides we have 4 faces, and on the top we have 1 atom, and on the bottom we have another atom. So totally there are 6 faces contain the 6 atoms, and 8 corners contains the 8 atoms. So this is called as the face-centered cubic structure. So we will calculate some parameters for the simple cubic system. So this simple cubic system contains the only atoms at the 8 corners. 8 corners. Okay, that means each atom is represented by the one lattice point. Each atom is represented by the one lattice point. So each atom is represented by one lattice point. So there are 8 lattice points associated with this crystal structure. Polonium is the only element that crystallizes in the simple cubic structure. Polonium is this is the only element that can crystallize only in the simple cubic structure. So the simple cubic structure contains only 8 atoms at the 8 corners. So this is the one unit cell. This is one unit cell. So this is one unit cell. So if you look at this corner atom, so this is not only corner atom for this unit cell. It is a corner atom for the 8 unit cells. On the top you can see this is 1. So this is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. So there are 4 unit cells. And on the bottom also we have 4 unit cells, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this corner atom is not only corner atom for this unit cell, it is corner atom for the 8 unit cells. That means this corner atom is shared by the 8 unit cells. That means the contribution from this atom to this unit cell is only 1 by 8. So this corner atom which contains at the corner, this is not only shared by the only this unit cell. This is also corner atom for the 8 unit cells. You can see here there are 4 unit cells on the top and 4 unit cells on the bottom. So this corner atom is not only corner atom for this unit cell, it is also corner atom for the 8 unit cells. That means each atom is shared by the 8 unit cells. So that means the contribution from this atom to this unit cell is only 1 by 8. It is only 1 by 8. Okay, because this corner atom not only corner atom for this unit cell, but it is also corner atom for the 8 unit cells. Okay, so there are 8 corner atoms. Okay, here you can see only 1 by 8 contribution. Only 1 by 8 contribution. So in this way there are 8 corner atoms, and from each corner atom there is 1 by 8 contribution. If you mix all these contributions, you can get only 1 atom, because there are 8 corners, and the contribution from each corner atom is equal to 1 by 8. So totally that is equal to 1 atom. So in the case of simple cubic structure, there is only 1 atom in the unit cell. Okay, so number of atoms in the simple cubic structure is equal to unit cell is equal to 1 atom. Okay, because this corner atom is shared by the 8 unit cells. This corner atom is shared by the 8 unit cells. So the contribution from this atom to this unit cell is equal to 1 by 8. 1 by 8, and since there are 8 atoms at the 8 corners for the simple cubic structure. In case of simple cubic structure, there are only 8 atoms. From each atom there will be contribution of 1 by 8 atom. And there are 8 atoms like that, 8 corner atoms. 8 corner atoms at the, so because on the top we have 4, on the bottom we have 4 atoms, so totally 8 atoms. So contribution from each atom is equal to 1 by 8. Since there are 8 atoms, totally 1 by 8 into 8 equal to 1 atom. So there will be 1 atom in the simple cubic structure. So next one is the coordination number. Coordination number means number of nearest neighbors. So if you look at this unit cell, so if you look at this corner atom, so here you can see there will be 2 atoms on the top and bottom at the same distance. Okay, so there are so many atoms, but if you want to calculate the coordination number, the number of nearest neighbors. Okay, so the next atoms, so the top and bottom we have 2 atoms, and the back and front side we have 2 atoms, and the left and right side we have 2 atoms. Okay, total there will be 6 atoms. So these are the number of nearest neighbors will be equal to 6. This is called as the coordination number. And the next one is the atomic radius. Here you can see, so here we assume that these atoms are the hard spheres, because the atom contains the positive charge in nucleus and the electrons are revolving. So the electron cloud is spherical in shape. The electron cloud is spherical in shape. So these atoms we are assuming that these are like a hard spheres. So we assume that these hard spheres are touching with each other. These hard spheres are touching with each other. So the radius of this atom is equal to AR. This radius of this atom is equal to R. So this is one lattice point and this is one lattice point. So the separation between the 2 lattice points is equal to, which is called as the lattice constant, and this is equal to A. So here the separation between the 2 lattice points is equal to A. So the radius of this atom is equal to R. So this radius of this atom is equal to R. So 2 are equal to A, because A is the lattice constant, that is so the lattice point that is representing this atom and the lattice point that is representing this atom. So the separation between the 2 lattice points is equal to A, and here we have the radius of the atom is equal to R, and this radius of the atom is equal to R, so that it will be equal to, hence from this we can calculate, so the radius can be equal to half of the lattice constant. So R equal to A by 2, this is called as the atomic radius for the simple cubic lattice. So next one is the atomic packing factor. Here you can see, so within the unit cell, this unit cell is the cube one, but the atoms are spherical in nature. Okay, atoms are spherical in nature. Here you can see there will be some free space. Okay, so now we are going to calculate how much space is occupied by these atoms in the unit cell. How much space is going to occupy by these atoms in the unit cell. So we assume that, so the atomic factor, we assume that these atoms are the spherical in nature and they are like hard spheres, they are touching with each other. So here the volume of the atoms in the unit cell. So we assume that this volume of the atoms, because we are considering it as a sphere, so the volume of the sphere is equal to 4/3 pi r cube. That is equal to 4/3 pi r cube. So the volume of the atoms is equal to 1 into 4/3 pi r cube. That is equal to volume of the one atom, because contribution from, in case of simple cubic structure, there will be only one atom inside the unit cell. Okay, so the volume of the atoms divided by the volume of the unit cell. So the volume of the atoms is equal to 4/3 pi. Instead of r, we substitute the, because 2r equal to a, so r equal to a by 2. So instead of r, we substitute the a by 2. So if you simplify this one, since it will become 4/3 pi a cube by 8, because 2 cube becomes 8. So here we have on the bottom a cube. So this a cube get cancelled. So 4 pi into 3 pi by 8, 3 8. So 4 8 it will be cancelled. So pi divided, that means it is equal to 3.14 pi value divided by 6, that means is equal to 0.52. That means the volume of the atoms that is occupied within the unit cell is equal to 0.52. That means only 52% of the volume occupied by these atoms, and the remaining 48% is empty. That means this is the empty space. Okay, volume occupied by this atom only this area. That means more than half of the percentage is occupied by the atoms, and the 48% is occupied by the voids. That means the space is free. Most of the space is free in case of the simple cubic lattice. So next one is the body centered cubic. So in case of body centered cubic, we have atoms at the corners and as well as at the body center. We have atoms at the corners and as well as at the body center. That means, so one atom is located at the body center also. So here you can see, okay, so this is the body center atom, and there are 8 atoms at the corners. 8 atoms at the corners, and the contribution from this corner atom, because this corner atom is shading by the 8 unit cells. So the contribution from the corner atom is equal to 1 by 8. So since there are 8 corner atoms, that is equal to only 1 atom. And this body center atom is not touching any other unit cell. So this body center atom is located within the unit cell. So it is not shared by any other atom. So there will be another contribution. So this atom is only belongs to this unit cell, because it is not shared by any other unit cell. So totally there will be 2 atoms. Okay. So the examples for this body center cubic are chromium, iron, and tungsten. Totally the number of atoms in the BCC structure is equal to, so because the contribution from the each corner atom is equal to 1 by 8. Okay, and since there are 8 corner atoms, so the contribution 1 by 8 into 8, that is equal to 1, plus 1 body center atom, that is equal to 2 atoms per the unit cell. So that there are 2 atoms at the, so there are 2 atoms in the unit cell. In case of simple cubic, there is only 1 atom, only because the atoms are located only at the corner. But in case of body center cubic, so the atom is also located at the body center. So that's why it is called as the body centered cubic structure. So there are 2 atoms. Here you can see, if you want to calculate the atomic radius, so here you can see this corner atom is connected to this body center atom, and this body center atom is again connected to this corner atom. So that means these atoms are connected along the body diagonal. Here you can see these 2 side by side atoms, they are not connected with each other. So this corner atom is connected to the body center atom, and this body center atom is connected to the opposite corner. That means along the body diagonal. This is called as the body diagonal. Okay. So these 2 atoms in the opposite corners, they are connected with the body center atom. Here, in order to calculate the radius, first you have to take the, so this is one corner atom, and this is another corner atom. In between we have body center atom. So in order to calculate this, we have to calculate the distance from the O to C. Okay. In order to calculate the O to C, first you need to take the OB, first you have to estimate the OB value. So in order to estimate the OB value, so here I am going to take this right angle triangle. This OAB right angle triangle. First, because in order to estimate the OC, first you have to estimate the OB value. So in order to estimate the OB value, first I am going to take this right angle triangle OAB. So here I am taking the OAB right angle triangle. Okay. So this side is equal to A, because this is the unit cell, all the sides are equal. This is one unit cell, this is equal to A, and this is also equal to A. Since this is a right angle triangle, from the Pythagoras theorem we can calculate the hypotenuse, that is equal to, so that is equal to square root of 2A. This is the value of OB. This is the value of OB. Okay. This is the value of OB, and here we are going to take the OBC triangle. So first we estimate the OB value, because we need to estimate the OC. So we have to take the first OB, calculate the OB. So in order to calculate the OB, first we take the right angle triangle OAB. From this right angle triangle OAB, so we can write, so hypotenuse square equal to side square plus side square. So that is equal to OB square equal to, so OB square equal to OA square plus AB square. Okay, from this we can calculate the OB value, that is equal to square root of 2A. And from this right angle triangle, because this is the, we need to calculate the OC value. In order to calculate the OC value, we take the right angle triangle OBC. We take the right angle triangle OBC, and this from the right angle triangle we can write this side square equal plus side square equal to hypotenuse square. That is OC square equal to OB square plus BC square. Okay, that is equal to, because OB equal to square root of 2A. If you square it, you can get the 2A square. So then OC square equal to square root of 3A. So here you can see, so this is 1R, because here you can see within the unit cell half of the atom is inside. Only half of the atom is inside, and this body center atom is completely inside, and this body center atom is completely inside, and this corner atom is also only half of the atom is inside. Okay, so here you can see, so this is 1R, this is another R, this is another R, this is another R, because within the unit cell only half of the atom is inside, the remaining atom is not inside. So this half of the atom you have to consider. So totally, because this body center atom is completely inside, so you have to take, because from the center you have to take both R's, because the radius is, because the whole atom is inside, you have to consider 4 R's. So 4R equal to 3A, so the atomic radius equal to R equal to square root of 3A divided by 4. So this is the atomic radius for the body center atom. Okay, so next we will calculate the atomic vacuum factor. So in the same way as we have defined before, the atomic vacuum factor means the volume of the atoms divided by the volume of the unit cell. So the volume of the unit cell, because since it is a unit cell, cubic unit cell, so A equal to B equal to C. All the sides are equal, so its volume will be A cube. So since this body center atom contains the 2 atoms, since body center atom contains 2 atoms, so the volume of each atom, because we are considering it as a sphere, so the radius of this sphere is equal to R, so its volume will be 4/3 pi R cube. Here we calculate this radius value, that is equal to square root of 3A divided by 4, and we substitute this R value here, and we simplify this, we can get this value. That is equal to 0.68. That means 68% of the volume is occupied by the atoms, only the remaining 32% is vacant. Because so here we have this body centered is atom also occupied. But in case of simple cubic, since there is no body centered, so this body, inside the body we have so much space. But in case of body centered cubic, so inside at the center of the body we have, this is occupied by the one atom, so some of the space is occupied by the atom, so there will be less amount of space is vacant. That means only 32% of the space is occupied by the vacancies, and 68% of the volume is occupied by the atoms, and the remaining only 32% is vacant. So this vacant space is called as the void. Next one is the face-centered cubic structure. So in case of face-centered cubic structure, in addition to the, so these are the corner atoms. There are 8 corner atoms. Okay, on the top we have 4, and on the bottom we have another 4. So in a similar way, we have 4 faces on the 4 sides. We have 4 faces on the 4 sides, and we have top face and bottom face. In case of face-centered cubic, so since this is a cube, we have on the 4 sides, we have 4 sides, and one top surface and one bottom surface. Totally there are 6 faces. Okay, and these atoms are located only at the faces. Here you can see this is the side faces, and this is the front face and back face, and this is the top face and the bottom face. So these atoms are located at only at the face center. That means the atom is located at here you can see this atom is located at the center of the face. That's why this structure is called as the face-centered cubic. That the atom is located at the center of the face. That's why it is called as the face-centered cubic. So most of the metals like copper, silver, aluminum, gold, all these metals are crystallized in the face-centered cubic structure. Okay, in case of face-centered cubic, the atoms are located at the center of the face. That's why it is called as the face-centered cubic structure. Okay, and this face-centered atom, so as we have seen already, the contribution from the corner atom is equal to 8, and there are 8 corners, there will be only 1 atom. The contribution from the corner atoms is equal to 1 atom. Here you can see this face-centered atom is shared by the 2 unit cells, adjacent unit cells. That means this face atom is common for this unit cell and this unit cell. Okay, that means half of the atom belongs to this unit cell, and half of the atom belongs to next unit cell. That means only contribution from this phase and atom is equal to only half. Okay, since there are only six phases, because on the four phases we have four phases and a top phase and a bottom phase. Here you can see there are four phases, the side phases and the front phase and back phase and the top phase and the bottom phase. Since there are six phases and this contribution from the each phase and atom is only half. So 6 phases are there into half of the atom, that is equal to 3 atoms, and from the 8 corners we have only 1 atom. So totally that is equal to 4 atoms in the unit cell. So in case of phase-centered cubic structure we have 4 atoms inside the unit cell. So how to calculate that? So if you take this phase-centered atom, because in one phase atoms are located at the corners and one phase-centered atom. So this is the phase-centered atom because this is one phase. One side, one face of this phase-centered cubic structure. Okay, so here the atoms are located at the corners and one phase center because the atom is located at the center of the phase. So here we need to calculate the atomic radius. In order to calculate the atomic radius, so first I am going to take this OAB right angle triangle. OAB right angle triangle. So here the side equal to A. This is one side and this is another side. So if you take the hypotenuse, that is equal to OB. So OB square equal to OA square plus AB square. So this is the right angle triangle. If you calculate the OB, then it is equal to square root of 2A. Because A square plus A square equal to 2A square and OB equal to, if you take the root, then it will become square root of 2A. Okay. So here you can see, so here only half of the atom is inside. Because this is the corner atom, only half of the inside atom is inside the unit cell. Okay, the other half of the atom is belongs to another unit cell. This is 1R. So this phase center atom is completely inside the phase. So there will be 2R. Okay, so 1R plus, so this phase center atom is completely, half of the atom is inside. So there will be length equal to 2R. And this atom, this corner atom is only R. Totally that 4R equal to square root of 2A because this hypotenuse length is equal to square root of 2A. That is equal to 4R equal to square root of 2A, and the atomic radius R equal to square root of 2A divided by 4. So we have atoms at the corners. We have atoms at the corners and we have one phase center atom. Here, so this is one side A and this is another side A. From the right angle triangle OAB we can write OB square, that means hypotenuse square equal to side square plus side square. So OB square equal to A square plus A square, that is equal to 2A square, and OB equal to square root of 2A. From this OB, so that means OB length from here to here, that is equal to 2A. And here we have 4 radius. So half of the atom is inside the unit cell, and here this corner atom, half of the atom is inside the unit cell, but the phase center atom is completely inside the unit cell. So there will be 4 R's from the, because the phase center atom is completely inside the unit cell. This phase center atom completely inside the unit cell. So there are 2 R's, and from this corner atom 1 R and this atom. So total equal to 4 R. Okay, so 4 R equal to square root of 2A divided by, and atomic radius R equal to square root of 2A divided by 4. Okay, so if you want to calculate the atomic vacuum factor, since there are, so the volume of the atom, since there are 4 atoms, and volume of the atoms is equal to 4 pi R cube, because we assume that the atoms are the spheres. So the volume of the sphere equal to 4/3 pi R cube, and volume of the unit cell is equal to, since this is a unit cell, because that means all the sides are equal. A equal to B equal to C, that is equal to A equal to B equal to C. So the volume of the unit cell is equal to A cube. So if you substitute instead of, because here square root of 2A, square root of 2A equal to 4R, and R equal to square root of 2A divided by 4. If you substitute this value, you can get the, if you simplify it, you can get the 0.74. Okay, that means 74% of the volume is occupied by the atoms, and only 26% is the empty. That means it is the void space. Okay, that means most of the space is occupied by the atoms. So this is called as the closed packing structure. Because the atoms are closely packed, so the empty space is very less. So the empty space is very less, and most of the space is occupied by the atoms. That means around 75% of the volume is occupied by the atoms, and 26% is space is only empty. So that's why it is called as the closed packing structure. And in order to calculate the coordination number, that means the number of nearest neighbors. Okay, number of nearest neighbors. Here you can see if you look at this corner atom, so there will be in the xy plane. Okay, suppose this is x and this is y. If you take this xy plane, so there are four corner atoms, four atoms nearest neighbors in the xy plane. And in case of if we come to the yz plane, so for the same corner atoms, so four nearest neighbors in the yz plane. And in case of xz plane, you have another four nearest neighbors. Totally, each plane contains the four atoms, and there are three planes. Total that is equal to 12 nearest neighbors. So the coordination number will be equal to 12 for the FCC crystal. So next one is the primitive cell. So the volume of the primitive cell is equal to volume of the unit cell divided by the number of atoms in the unit cell. That means the cell which contains only one atom is called as the primitive cell. So in case of simple cubic structure, it contains only one atom. So its primitive cell is equal to unit cell because the number of atoms in the unit cell is equal to 1. Okay, and in case of BCC, the volume of the primitive cell is equal to A cube by 2 because it contains the 2 atoms. And in case of FCC, it contains the 4 atoms. So the volume of the primitive cell is equal to A cube by 4 because it contains the 4 atoms. Okay, in case of simple cubic, the unit cell itself is the primitive cell. But in case of BCC, since there are 2 atoms, the volume of the primitive cell is equal to A cube by 2. In case of FCC, the volume of the primitive cell is equal to A cube by 4. So here is the summary of this cubic structures. So the unit cell is same for the all unit cells because all sides are equal. If you take the cubic cell, so all sides are equal. So the volume of the unit cell is equal to same for all structures. But the number of atoms for the unit cell is equal to 1. And in case of body centered cubic it is 2. And in case of face centered cubic it is 4. Okay, so the primitive cell volume for the simple cubic structure, since it contains only one atom, its primitive cell volume is equal to A cube. But in case of body centered cubic structure, it is A cube by 2. In case of face centered cubic, it is A cube by 4 because it contains the 4 atoms. And the coordination number, that means the number of nearest neighbors for the simple cubic structure is equal to 6. And in case of, because the body center atom is close to all the 8 corner atoms. Okay, so that all the corner atoms are at the same distance. Okay, there will be 8 corner atoms for the body center atom. So the number of nearest neighbors equal to 8. In case of face centered cubic, so each plane contains the 4 atoms and there are 3 planes. So 3 into 4, that is equal to 12 atoms are the nearest neighbors. That means the coordination number equal to 12. So the atomic radius for the simple cubic structure is equal to, since 2 are equal to A in this case. So that is equal to, so R equal to atomic radius equal to A by 2. In case of body centered cubic, 4 are equal to 3A, square root of 3A, that is equal to R equal to square root of 3A5. In case of face centered cubic, 4 are equal to square root of 2A, that is equal to, so atomic radius equal to square root of 2A divided by 4. So the atomic factor, that means the volume occupied by the atoms in the unit cell, that is very low for the simple cubic structure, that is equal to 0.52. In case of body centered cubic, it is equal to 0.68. In case of face centered cubic, it is equal to 0.74. So the only element that crystallizes in the simple cubic structure is the polonium, and in case of body centered cubic, iron, barium and chromium, they crystallize in the body centered cubic structure. And most of the metals like aluminum, copper, gold, silver, these metals they crystallize in the FCC structure.